What is up, binge watchers? Welcome back to Screen Kings. Today is going to be another exciting video because we're talking about one of my favorite TV shows this year, Cobra Kai, the 4th season. This show has been so consistently good, and this season is no different because it's the culmination of the fight among these dojos so far in this awesome All-Valley tournament. By the end of 3rd season, we have Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso joining their forces together to beat Chris, but there's this one enemy coming back from Daniel LaRusso's past this season, and it's Terry Silver. If you remember the events of Karate Kid 3, he's this evil sensei who tricked Daniel LaRusso into joining Cobra Kai. There's a lot of history here, and I can't wait to break this down. Of course, I can't do this alone. I will be bringing my fellow sensei, Joshua Perez from Juice Talkies. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, Kevin? Happy New Year. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, and I can't wait to talk about this. Happy New Year to you as well, and
Thank you.
what a great way to start this year. I'm still loving this show. This show has been one of the few shows that it continues to outdo itself, right? So I know you're loving it, so what can you say about this season?
I agree with you 100%, but hang on one second before I get into it. Hang on.
Okay.
Ice! Ice! Ice!
Wha-
Ice! 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 Ice!
Kevin, just a little icebreaker, just to get the blood flowing. You know. Okay, I'm good.
You could have briefed
I'm ready
me,
now.
'cause
I'm
I
feeling
have some
it.
moves there too. Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. Perfect. And hey, if you lose any subscribers for that, I take full responsibility. Don't worry. I'm sorry. Apologize in advance.
You know, if you want to see more moves from him, subscribe to this channel and to his channel, you know.
Exactly. But no, on a serious note, I thought this season was by far the best for me personally. There's a lot of things that have improved that I've noticed. I thought the acting and performances were much better than previous seasons. If you go back to season 1, you had a bunch of new fresh faces, new actors kind of getting a feel for the series and the role. And I feel like there's a lot of confidence that's being introduced this season. You know, they're a little bit more tenured, as well as the fight sequences. That was a big one. They've pretty much set the bar this season with those fight scenes and fight choreography. Nothing too crazy, nothing too over the top, very convincing. And it really shows this season. It seems like they're getting a lot of practice and training off camera. And that's one of the things I really appreciate, you know, coming into season 4.
Yeah, you know how much I love the fight sequences because I told you I watched the last 2 episodes there.
You did.
Probably 4 times by now. I kept rewatching it. And yeah, characters, the casting, they're more comfortable now in their roles. At first, I was not digging Daniel LaRusso's acting here, you know, Ralph Macchio's. But over time, he improved, you know, and you know, William Zabka is still amazing. This one of the most hilarious TV characters to date. And yeah, the showrunners, I really respect that they attacked this season, and most like every other season, by looking first at the character, not at the story, allowing the story to evolve from there. And I think that's the secret of every TV, that, you know, you focus on the characters, their growth, but at the same time not taking them into crazy directions, like, you know, aligning still that storyline to who they are as a person. So I appreciate that aspect of that show. We all thought that we're just getting Chris' backstory here to have a better understanding of him as a character, but it also serves as a backstory for Terry Silver, because by the end of season 3, we happen to know that that guy that Chris saved at the end when he was about to send to his death is actually Terry Silver. So that will play an integral component in this show. And yeah, the rivalry is still in there. I gotta admit, at first I was feeling the strain a bit on that rivalry between Gianni and Daniel LaRusso, but they didn't fully play it throughout the entire season. The story is pretty much everyone else, and I think the showrunners are really listening to the input of the fans, because there's this one character that I really disliked in season 3, then I found myself rooting for this person in season 4. So when that whole match happens, that whole tournament, you find yourself conflicted because you don't know, you're not entirely sure who to root for. And I think that's a testament of how this show has constantly blurred the lines of good and evil, you know?
Yeah, I love that too. That's one of the things I noticed too, is that whether it's Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do, you're getting to see both the good and bad from both sides. You're getting both perspectives. And this is what makes the writing so great and the character development, is that they're not completely like just one-note characters where they're just siding for being bad or being evil. They all have these qualities that you like, that you root for, because you understand that they're relatable teenagers. They're gonna make mistakes, but you know, the show has a way of just showing you the good side and the bad side, and kind of the struggles that they've been going through. Tori is one character, one example of that. She's a badass, she's moody, but on the other hand, you know, we have to understand where she's coming from. You know, she's taking care of her mom by herself, a teenager, there's no other adults that's doing what she's doing. So she's having to grow up a lot faster than a lot of the other students. I like how they do that because they make you sympathize with the characters, and that's what makes it complicated. That's just what makes it a little bit difficult to figure out who you're gonna root for. I love how this season continues that balance of lightheartedness and cheesiness with the more serious themes of martial arts discipline, independence, and you know, you have a lot of the father and son relationship dynamics in this season as well. One of the things that stood out to me this season was the lesson of finding yourself or finding your own path in life, and not just feeling obligated to follow and live the life that your parents want you to live, whether it's college, trying to figure out what martial arts style you want to learn from. That was extremely powerful, relatable, and relevant to, you know, teens and young adults today. And you know, we've all been there. We've kind of all been on that pedestal where we felt kind of pressured to kind of do what our parents wanted us to do. And you know, maybe there was a small ounce of us that had other ambitions, you know, and we were just kind of afraid to kind of go that direction because our parents are pressuring us to do this or be that. And I liked how this season kind of broke the characters from that. There's a really profound flashback in this season with Miyagi, and he's using the bonsai's roots as a metaphor. And you know, it basically just says that if I were to teach you my style or martial arts, I may not want you to teach someone else the same exact way. I want you to find your own way of teaching that and your own way of disciplining another student with the same techniques I taught you. That was something that hit home with me because, you know, I grew up doing martial arts myself. You kind of want to respect your master, your mentor, but at the end of the day, you don't have to always go by the book. You know, everybody's different, everybody's individual. You having your own way of teaching is what makes you grow more. And you know, that was something I really took away from this season. The dynamics between Gianni and LaRusso. This season, you get a lot more of that interaction because, you know, now they're under one dojo. And I thought that provided some of the most hilarious and greatest moments of the series. And I honestly got goosebumps. Like, there's a couple training montages with Gianni and Daniel where Johnny's learning paint the fence. I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. I never thought we'd get to this point where he would be so open to learning those techniques. But you know, that's something I loved about this season, was that they were able to step into each other's shoes and get that perspective that I feel like they should have had from the get-go. Despite how Gianni can be a little bit obnoxious at times, some of his training methods may be unorthodox or a little crazy, it provides for some really great comedy. I feel like Gianni gets the best dialogue in this series. Like, they give him the best one-liners, the best puns and jokes. It's so hilarious. Like, I love it.
You know what? The keyword from what you said is balance. And that is the main thing that I'm loving about this season. And I can't wait to delve into those character arcs that you foreshadowed a bit. Because this show, it can be, you know, a coming of age for the younger students, forging their own path. Like, they were presented with these different philosophies, learning from those different styles, you know, offense versus defense, that the whole thing that Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai teaches. And then you have this midlife crisis from the adults of the show, and they're trying to get a better life from themselves, trying to move on from the past, but not actually moving forward, So it's interesting to see how these storylines and these characters parallel. Like, there's a never-ending cycle of rivalry and pride and bullying that's happening from one generation to another's. And the show also maintains to balance its comedic aspects, also the darker aspects of the show. And at the whole, it still remains to be a light, family, bingeable show. So I think that's one of the underestimated qualities of the show that the writers consistently bring. Also, I have to say, this show has been unpredictable for me, because I think the writers really understand this thing called the thrill of the chase. Like, they're not giving you exactly what you want. You're going to kept wanting for more. You're going to be given with something unexpected, but when you look back on it, it is the best option for them. Like, seeing how these characters grow and how to position these characters into the future seasons. Because I gotta be honest, after season 3, I love that season, but I was feeling a bit weary. Maybe this show is starting to lose its steam. Like, at the back of my head, there's this worry, because the crutch of this show is, nostalgia, by going back to the past movies. And what if they start running out of movies? In this season, they have Terry Silver, but in the future seasons, maybe they can use other characters from the Miyagi-verse, but what else is there? Time and then again, they kept surprising me, this writer. So, I really love it.
I can kind of agree and disagree with the predictability aspect of it. There's some moments that I did not see coming in regards to Terry Silver. The only nitpicks I had was the predictable moments when it comes to the rivalries. We're gonna flip-flop from Miyagi-Do to Cobra Kai. They've done it a couple times where, for me personally, I've kind of seen it coming. There's this switching of alliances, which seems to be happening like weekly. But as far as like the individual characters, sometimes you don't see it coming. Like, there's a lot of things that happen with Terry Silver this season where I was like, whoa, like I can't believe that happened. Terry Silver is a psychopath. And I know last time when we reviewed the last season, we kind of touched over it briefly. Did you ever go back to watching The Karate Kid 3? Like, you did see that one, right?
Yeah, that guy is crazy, over the top, and
Yeah,
that is one of the best things that this season did, is they redeemed the character. He's thinly written, over the top character, and then there's a short explanation on why he's doing those things on Karate Kid 3, which I will bring into attention later on our spoiler talk. So it really gave me a lot of laughs. But yeah, I guess another aspect of this show is, I forgot to mention, is this show is also woke, because this show has also been, a good source of social commentary. And usually these days, TV shows, it's almost feels obligatory, to have its characters woke. So sometimes it feels, inorganic. But in here, they made it in a hilarious, self-aware kind of way. So the council here, the All Valley, have done some drastic decisions that we're going to see how it's going to play out for the rest of the season. But Gianni, man, he did a lot of homework here. This guy is constantly learning, and this guy constantly surprises us. And yeah, honestly, it's one of my favorite hilarious moments of the season. Just all in all, I can't believe that this show is able to outdo itself. Like, delivering that heartfelt moments, the hilarious moments. Like, there are moments of something dark and personal, but it all comes together. And of course, in a Cobra Kai fashion, just like in season 3, it ends in a heavy dramatic fashion. This show has, an unabashedly corny, but never cringy for me. It's one of those things, like, whether you dig that aspect of that show or not, you will probably stick with season 1, or you probably left by now. But honestly, if you loved watching season 1 to 3, you're going to love season 4 even more. That is, if you haven't seen this yet, because if you're a Cobra Kai fan, you probably must have seen this.
I completely agree. Yeah, I've stuck with it from the first season. Like, I really love it. I feel like them introducing Terry Silver set the bar really high. He enjoys seeing people in pain. The dude is ruthless. And when it comes to Terry Silver and John Kreese, I like to compare those two to Star Wars. John Kreese being Darth Vader and Terry Silver to Darth Sidious. And that's the way I view it as far as villains are concerned. And Darth Sidious is just as ruthless, unforgiving. I will have to admit, I was a little concerned about Terry Silver like the first couple episodes in. He seemed a little bit tame. You know, he's living this lavish lifestyle. He's living in this mansion. He's eating vegan skewers, and I'm like, this is diet Terry Silver or Terry Silver light. He's not as intimidating as he was in the third movie, but then as you're watching, just keep watching it, then you're gonna see some, you know, things progress. And then I was like, okay, that's the Terry Silver I remember. For me, it paid off in the end. Another thing regarding the All Valley tournament, I would have liked to see maybe at least one more episode, you know, dedicated towards the tournament. I think we only got 2 episodes of the tournament. Some of them fights kind of went like rapid fire. There's a performance that's kind of thrown in between the fight sequences, which I felt was a little bit of a distraction. Because of that, I felt just a tad bit rushed. I think maybe 3 total episodes of the tournament would have been a lot better. How they wrapped it up rapidly.
I think we better wrap up this non-spoiler review now, because we just can't wait to talk about the character arcs. So
I know, me too.
We'll just drop our scores now. So I remember giving Cobra Kai Season 3 a 4.5 out of 5. I think there's still room for improvement, which we will tackle later on. But I'm so keen on giving this a higher grade than Season 3 because I like this season much better. So I'm gonna give this a 4.75, balancing all the drama, the comedy, the fan service, not too much, just the right amount to keep the fans happy, and the nostalgia and all the character developments that go along the way. It's the best Cobra Kai season yet.
I agree. This season was great. It definitely set the bar a lot higher with introducing Terry Silver. I think he's exactly what they needed for this season to elevate the stakes of everything going on. Kevin, I think I'm going for it, man. I feel like I'm living on the edge tonight. I'm going with 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I did have some nitpicks. But I feel like it wasn't enough to bring down this show. I felt like there were more pros and cons. And so I'm going 5 out of 5. Another thing I gotta add too, remember, gentlemen, for when you're cooking, if it doesn't have at least 3 animals in it, it's not manly enough. You throw that in the trash. Throw it in the trash.
Okay guys, it's now time to break down everything that happened in this season. We have a lot of character arcs going here. So let's start first with Johnny Lawrence. Oh, poor Johnny. End of season 3, he completely lost the trust and the affection of his son. And by the end of season 4, he got it back, but he kind of lost Miguel. I think this is one of the things that I'm saying earlier. The show writers are not giving everything that you want for the redemption of Johnny here. Because once they gave everything for this character, there's no more thrill to it. You're no longer looking forward to the next season. So I completely understood why they have to do it, because he wants to be a father figure to both. But, you know, sometimes these younger students, they don't see it on an eye-to-eye level to him. And, you know, I think that's just a fatal mistake for Johnny Lawrence to force Miguel to fight into a match despite having that broken back, suddenly coming back again. And something that we did not predict, I already completely forgot about that incident.
Me too.
It just happened in less than a year. So how can he be in that perfect condition again? So it makes perfect sense that he's not going to win this tournament.
Johnny has always been my favorite character. There's also that struggle with his son, Robbie. They're not having the best of times. The relationship is just kind of broken. That's kind of where Miguel comes in. You know, Miguel is also looking for that fatherly figure. Johnny's also looking for that role to fill, you know, since his son is not in the picture, he's not training with him. Those are the moments that you really feel for Johnny and Miguel, because Miguel doesn't know who his father is. And we learn by the end of the season, he wants to set a course to try to find who his father is. And a lot of what motivates that is when we have that episode where Gianni is drunk, he doesn't know what he's saying, and he accidentally calls Miguel Robbie, and that just tears him apart. And he's just kind of questioning himself, like, why have I been even doing this? Like, I should be going to find my real father. So there's a lot of heartfelt moments like that where you just kind of really connect to the characters. I felt really bad for him, but I felt bad for Gianni because, he was trying to make things work with Robbie, and, that's when the alliances started shifting. And, it leads to some really great character moments. That's why Johnny's my favorite character. Like, we're getting to see this season many more layers, his motivations and who he is as a character and how he's feeling. And, we get a little bit more in depth to his past. We kind of get a couple flashbacks from when he was a kid, from when his father left him. And, we kind of see that John Kreese kind of played somewhat of a fatherly figure in this season. I thought that was great to see. We're learning a lot more from Johnny. We're learning a lot more from Kreese, and that connection. Like, there's a side to Kreese we haven't even seen before that they're kind of just splitting open this season. And, he's maybe a little bit more sympathetic and nicer than we thought. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. At first, when, at the finale, Terry outsmarted Kreese. He mentioned about Kreese's weakness is Johnny Lawrence. At first, I wasn't entirely buying it, though I know that Johnny Lawrence is what he's going to say when he first hinted that Kreese has his own weakness. Because we literally saw Kreese last season choking Johnny Lawrence, and in a way that's him trying to vanquish his weakness, but he didn't have the guts or the chance to finally do it. And it's Terry, the greater of two evils, who proved to be the one who actually outsmarted Kreese here. That's another dynamic of the show that I was really compelled. Like, when you got scenes between these two, there's just this internal power struggle in your head. Who is really in control here? Like, a few moments before we get the last two episodes, it seemed like, Terry Silver is taming down. But no, this guy is psychopath. Like, what's worse than an evil sensei is an evil sensei who actually happens to be also an entrepreneur, and we saw his agenda, which is to launch franchises of Cobra Kai, which makes perfect sense. And he wants to take credit on his own. He realized that, with Kreese on his back, he's always going to play that guilt card. So he needs to strike first, and strike first he did, because he sent Kreese to jail. So I don't know if we're still going to follow that storyline. I hope we still, because we got some characters in the jail, like the brother of Ken. I think that guy is going to play a role in the next season, But yeah.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, I can see another mentoring situation happening in there. I also dig Robbie's character arc here, because at first, by the end of season 3, oh no, Robbie is now in the dark side. But no, Robbie proved to be a smarter individual, because he's constantly aware of what's happening around him. But, being young and still occasionally reckless, he mentored Kenny, and he bring out the worst out of him instead of bring the best out of him. And, we got that situation again where the bullied gets to be the one who is now the bully. So yeah, we see him reconciling with Johnny, and I think the next season is them seeing eye to eye and finally mending that relationship, and possibly going after Miguel. That will be a tricky situation, like with Johnny here having Carmen as the love interest, possibly marrying her. So what, are they going to be one big happy family now? So a lot of tricky things going here, a lot of possibilities.
I don't know if it'll happen that fast. Maybe season 6 we'll see a wedding, but no, I agree with the whole Kreese thing. This season was interesting as far as Kreese is concerned, because this season proved that there is a line that John Kreese will not cross. And that kind of leads me to thinking that, the next season, we'll kind of see his redemption arc. And I have a feeling that he's probably going to side with, Gianni again. Maybe they'll come up with some new dojo name under one house. I'm really looking forward to that. But like the ending, how Terry Silver played him dirty, I did not see that coming. And that's going to be really interesting to see.
Honestly, I thought he's going to poison Chris because he took a drink and then he did not. Like, are we getting a Game of Thrones situation? Like watching Game of Thrones, my mind already went into alert mode. Oh my God, is he going to poison Chris here? But no.
The Joffrey moment.
Chris is gonna have.
I thought the same thing. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Now, come to think of it, because. Terry's psychotic, like we both mentioned. There's a little bit of unpredictability when it comes to him, and even though he started this season, kind of like, well, that's not the Terry I know, but he's in there somewhere. And we got to see it. At the end.
Chris pointed out that karate is a way of life. It's not a phase, as one of the fancy friends of Terry Silver would used to say. But yeah, I guess he awakened the evil inside of him. I mean, Terry Silver, I won't completely discount him as evil, but apparently this season he's worse than Chris here.
Yeah.
So, but you can see his motivation. So I think it's still a better written character, definitely better written villain than the one that we see in Karate Kid 3. And then they mentioned that in Karate Kid 3 that he's so hopped up on cocaine. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, we were gonna talk about that one. His reasoning.
Yeah. And then, we get some confrontation scenes here between Daniel and Terry. So Daniel is still reeling over that past. Like, he seemed to be having this PTSD issues. Seeing how it plays out the next season, Daniel, we might see a different side to him because he just realized in the end, like, there's no honor among these thieves. Like, Terry cheated his way. Daniel doesn't know that yet, but I'm sure the truth will come out soon. So I think Daniel, there's a possibility that he might play dirty because that's the game that they're playing now. He can't play this. He already accepted that.
Yeah.
It's that defense thing is no longer applicable. When your competitors are as aggressive as this. He learned that he finally let Sam take her own reins. Like, you know what? You can learn something good from Cobra Kai too. So
I completely agree. Yeah, because the whole entire season, we see Daniel focused, on the defensive. Karate is all about defense. It's not about offense. That's more of Johnny's alley. But you see at the end through his daughter kind of convincing him that there's going to be more than one way to accomplish your goal. I hope he doesn't turn completely to the dark side or play dirty, because that was the biggest complaint I have from the Karate Kid 3, is that he completely undermined everything Miyagi taught him as far as character development, and it was a complete 180. And I don't want to see him do that again, but I want to see him be in a place where he is more open-minded. He's learned, a thing or two from this season from Gianni. He's had the opportunities. They were under one dojo. He was learning Johnny's training methods, and Gianni was learning his training methods. And I hope that he finds some kind of balance to where he can still accomplish the same goal, but do it in an ethical and humane way. Not like the Karate Kid 3. I really don't want to see him retread that, because that was one of the things that had me completely disliking the third film. I really hope they don't retread that same ground. So but we'll see. We'll see what happens with this next season.
Yeah, it will be tricky because the temptation will be there next season. Yeah. I know it's going to happen.
It will be,
good thing he has chosen by his side. So I think they've already gotten over their rivalry, but I'm still expecting some clashing of heads. It's going to happen here, because I think somewhere in the next season, we're going to see less of Johnny and Daniel's scenes together, because I think they started to exhaust that rivalry. They tried to put up that dojo, and as expected, their ideals clash, their methods of teaching, and at first, I was taken aback by this constant on and off. But if you really think about it, there's just too much history between them that it's not really optimal for them to be in the same dojo. Like being co-senseis with different ideologies is just not attainable. It's just not sustainable. So I think it's the realistic option that when they headed to the tournament, they headed as different dojos. Let's talk about, I guess, the younger cast here. Miguel, I just want Miguel to be happy next season. Like this poor kid, like, because he's the next Daniel LaRusso, but we're going to uncover the truth of his father, whoever that is. Things are heading to Mexico City, and man, I just kept thinking about that heartbreaking moment of Gianni mistaking Miguel as Robbie's son. Like, ooh.
Yeah, that cut deep, and I gotta say the performances in that scene, like I felt it. Like I thought that was an extremely powerful scene. Did that really just happen? I don't think he's gonna be in the next season, and this is because I don't know if you're aware, they did cast that actor as the Blue Beetle. This is actually gonna help give him that time to film that film. And as far as, making the story work for Cobra Kai, and in the following season, maybe have him return. But I doubt it we're going to see anything from him the following season.
Oh, that's a bit of a bummer. But you know what? The writers know how to bring back a character. Because we got two characters from previous seasons making a comeback. One of which is Stingray. Or Stingray, should I say. So I think he's perfectly integrated to that plot. Another guy having a midlife crisis who just on a pathetic state of his life, and Terry Silver practically bullied him into getting his way physically, emotionally, and also Aisha. I'm loving her moment here. Like I wish she was there in the All Valley tournament, but when you get insight to her character, that karate philosophies are just not for fighting. They're also way on dealing how your life's going to be, navigating your life. So I think that's an important scene between her and Sam. Let's talk about Sam and Tori's rivalry. Tori, I really dislike this character. Season 3, she just completely brought her Cobra Kai friends and attacked someone else's house, which is just a gangster level. So,
that was horrible.
That was horrible, but she got character development here. Like, we finally understood why she's so mad about Sam, and it's just about Miguel, because Sam is coming on a position of privilege and Sam is not really completely realizing that. This season, like, Sam is the one doing more of the aggression here. So it's interesting that they're giving different sides to this character, and whether you're a Tori or a Sam stan, they don't give a satisfying win to any of those characters, because by the end, Tori won, but we found out that it was a flawed match. It's rigged. So it's not really Tori's win.
Yep. With that twist at the end, it could have been the other way around. That's going to be interesting to see how it plays out the next season if they do have another All Valley tournament. Because super unfair as far as like that fight was concerned, because it could have gone the other way, like easily.
I don't think we're getting another All Valley tournament next season though. Maybe season 6. Hawk here. Hawk is one of my favorite characters.
Me too, yeah.
He did a 360 arc here, from the person being bullied to being the bully, and now finding out that he didn't need to be this badass to make a name for himself, to be a better person. He know now how to achieve that balance. The only gripe that I have is, it seemed like the whole house fight that happened in LaRusso's house back in season 3 is just pinned so heavily on Tori. And then the rest of the kids are just accepted. Sure, we get a moment here of Hawk being alienated from his Miyagi-Do friends, but they seem to get over with it. But Tori is still being villainized here, but I guess I guess they just have to angle things in that way. But I have to get back to Tori. Another significant thing about this is she's paired up with Amanda here, something I did not expect. And Amanda here is often the voice of reason, but in here she got a solid arc that actually impacts a whole lot of events here.
I didn't really like Tori as a character, until we got to know a little bit more of, maybe why she is the way she is. And, when it gets to Amanda learning more about her and what she's going through, and even her trying to help her out, Amanda seems to be the only one that kind of sees this and wants to help her. I like those moments because, we're getting to see a softer side to Tori. I think she'll change completely in the next season. More sympathetic, kinder in the next season, not as aggressive. Those are moments I love, and Amanda seems to be the only one that kind of sees those two sides, and everyone else is just kind of giving her hell because it's like a ping pong thing. Tori's bullying Sam, Sam's bullying Tori. There's moments this season where I said to myself, I'm like, wow, well, if Sam were only here in this specific moment, maybe she'd understand what she's going through, and maybe they could set aside their differences. But they don't. There's a lot of this back and forth rivalry, so much so that no one just stops and says, hey, what are we doing? It frustrates me just a little bit, because I kind of want them to see the good sides of Tori, the good sides of Sam. There are things that both of those teams are going through that I feel like if both of them saw every aspect of, they'd stop this nonsense.
Yeah, I'm expecting a redemption arc coming their way
Me
in the
too.
5th season, but then again, the writers keep on surprising us, so maybe it might get for the worse. But one thing I like about this season is there are less fights outside the tournament. As much as I enjoyed seeing those fight sequences, like I kept asking, where are these kids' parents? Like they need to be grounded more on reality. So this season they stayed away from that, except from this one prom match, but it ended on a fun mode because everyone else jumped into that pool. But when you got two characters who are just bottling feelings of hate and anger towards each other, it's hard to contain
And I was
them,
saying that too. I'm like, where's the teachers? Where's the security? Because after the last season's brawl in the school, I'm like, shouldn't these kids be transferring to a much safer high school? I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, this is the worst high school you could go to. Keep your kids away. Like, you're almost guaranteed to be bullied if you go to this high school. So just stay away.
Yeah, we only know one character who left, which is Aisha. And then I think we also lost some of the Cobra Kai members. There are some faces there that I'm no longer seeing. And, much are attributed to the brawl at LaRusso's house. But much of the bullying here now is relegated to a new generation of kids. We have Kenny and Anthony here. Anthony LaRusso starts out to be the one who's the bully. And we later found out in the assessment that Daniel had with his wife that they're actually neglecting Anthony here, and it makes perfect sense because Anthony doesn't have a storyline until this season. And at first, I was not completely digging it because I felt like it's already a rehash of the things that you've already seen before. Like Kenny is like, he's taking the arc of Hawk here. But the way I see it, they need to set it up because these teenagers, they start to look older than they seem, so they need to invest on the younger generation here if they're going to have any more plans for the future season. So, okay, I can see what they're doing here.
Kenny, I felt like was a missed opportunity to probably do something different because it was just pretty much a copy and paste of Hawk. Hawk kind of started the same way, or some of the other characters that were bullied at first, then later became the aggressor, became the bully. That's why he didn't do anything for me. He just kind of started the same exact way as most of the characters. So I would have liked to see something different from him. Felt like they kind of sped up his progression to becoming the bully a little bit too quickly. The one I am interested though in is Anthony. I'm so glad that they're starting to plant the seeds for him. I feel like he's gonna have a bigger role next season with Kenny. I think we're gonna eventually see, if we do get another All Valley, whether it's next season or the season after, we're gonna see both of them in that tournament. Anthony was just kind of a wasted character in the beginning. He was so focused on his video games. He didn't want to do anything else I'm like, we got to give him more to do than that. And then this season, we finally get to see a little bit of that. I was kind of excited, you know, because I wanted to see a new character who was a LaRusso introduced to the plot. Him and Sam, the blood of Daniel LaRusso, taking on the legacy of Miyagi's teachings. And that's kind of what I always wanted to see from Anthony from the beginning, is just this progression to going to his father and saying, hey, I really do want to learn these things. And this season, they kind of pushed that. They gave him more to do with Kenny. I don't like that they started Anthony as the bully, but you kind of start seeing him sympathize a little bit, kind of say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be like this. But, you know, Kenny, I feel like it's just so far gone. I mean, he could be redeemed, but, you know, just the way his reaction
evil smile.
The evil smile. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, just the other day, like you were, you know, dancing at the bus stop, like you're all, you know, giddy and happy, and then now you're becoming exactly what Terry Silver wants you to be. I thought that was interesting, but I do like the direction they're going with Anthony. They're making use of him, and it's gonna be awesome to see what they're gonna do with him in season 2. And one more thing, is this the same actor as the previous seasons?
He is. I searched that.
Wow.
Just,
so I thought they recast him.
growth spurt. He does look different because, you know, he's a bit, you know, cutie chubby on the first season.
Oh, you're right.
So in here,
yeah, you're right,
he seemed thinner because he started to gain height. So that's how it goes, you know, when it comes to puberty. Yeah. You know what? That is one of the pros of the show, because I can tell that the writers are really listening, because I was looking at fan reactions at the end of season 3, and one of the complaints here is, some of the complaints here are Tori being so unlikable. They address that. Yeah. They make her likable this season. Anthony,
they did, yep.
He's a LaRusso. Give him a proper storyline. They finally give him this season. Yeah. So the writers are listening to the fans. So I really appreciate that. But also we have to take note that Anthony is not a copy-paste version of Sam. So I'm thinking that he's not fully into it the way into karate compared to Sam. Let's talk about the future here, because I was looking at interviews with the writers of the show, and they're not opposed to the idea of featuring Hilary Swank. So yeah,
yes.
I'm excited.
That's
to
the only
see
one left to
sensei
include.
Here.
That's the one character I'm thinking of they haven't yet introduced. It's possible. I mean, maybe next season or the season after. It just has to serve the story. And I think that's the most important thing. I didn't mention Chosen. We did get a little scene with him and Daniel at the end. I did not expect him to show up like that. And I know in season 3, when Daniel went to Japan, Miyagi had another book of secret techniques.
Yeah,
and
there's also a scene of Anthony trying to unwrap some scroll, and then Daniel's mentioning something that is a technique that I wish I'm never going to use. But I thought it's
I
the
forgot
technique.
about that.
Yeah,
yes.
I thought he's referring to the technique he used against Chris when he incapacitated his enemy. You know, take away
paralyzes
his.
arm.
Yeah. I thought that was that, but there are a lot of secrets that Miyagi hasn't shared yet.
Yeah, it could be. It could be, because that was a pretty thick book, but I feel like there's probably more techniques. That was the one that he used last season. That's definitely going to come to play, and I really love the fact that they're bringing Chosen back into it, because he brings another dynamic into the whole series. Chosen is a little bit more aggressive, kind of the complete opposite of Daniel. So it's going to be so cool to see all of these different personalities and teaching methods. And if they're going to take down Terry Silver, I mean, they're going to need another badass. You know, not just Gianni and John Kreese, but Chosen is definitely going to set the bar. And I'm going to love seeing him if they do include him in the next season. That's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, I think it's odd for Chosen. And maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Hilary Swank, you know, Gildy Pierce, appears the next season. Whether he's just coming as a villain or, you know, another protagonist, but not seeing eye to eye with Daniel, because both of them, they are mentored by Mr. Miyagi. So it's interesting how that's dynamic going to play out. Yeah, but I think we're done here. That's it for our non-spoiler and spoiler discussion of Cobra Kai Season 4. How about you guys? I'm sure if you've reached the point of this video, you're watching this show. So let us know what you think in the comment sections down below. Also, Josh, thank you so much for joining this discussion with me. I'm always having a fun time doing this with you.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Thank you.
Okay, guys, give this video a like and subscribe to us if you haven't yet for weekly reviews of movies and TV shows. Until then, we'll see you all on the next one.